Carolina. What that means is that any math test for the state, so a check-in, an EOG or an EOC, that falls under my purview. We are joined today by Dan Almond. Dan is my counterpart. He is our testing measurement specialist for reading. So whether it's a check-in, an EOG, or an EOC, that happens to be Dan's level of expertise. We are just going to get you started today, and we are going to turn you over to the very capable hands of our colleagues with Metametrics, Matt Copeland and Jane Scott. Before we do that, I'm going to go over just a few kind of frequently asked questions. First of all, welcome. We know that particularly at the end of your school day, sitting in a training for an hour might not be your favorite way to pass your time, but we're hoping you will get tons of tips and tricks today that will help make your job a little easier. Everyone is defaulted to mute. For our webinar, we have a little over 300 folks registered, and so that's just kind of a logistics piece. Today's webinar will be recorded, and I actually started the recording a couple minutes ago. The recording will be sent out via email to anyone who registered. We know that things happen last minute, and perhaps some of your colleagues registered and got called into a last minute meeting, or bus duty went longer. So whether or not folks attend today, if they register, they will be receiving a copy of the recording. And we will also be posting that recording on our website. When you receive that recording, it will be a link to the recording along with a password, and that is freely able to be shared if you want to share it with colleagues, or if it's something you'd like to look at with your PLC or PLT. Once you get that recording, you are welcome to pass that on to whomever you think might benefit from it. And then the last little tidbit before we turn it over to Matt and Jane is that NCDPI is not offering any CEUs for participation in the webinar. Whether you are live with us today or you are watching a recording, we are not offering any continuing education credits. With that, I am going to turn it over to Matt, and he and Jane will kind of drive from here, and Dan and I will be present for support as needed.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Dan. We certainly appreciate that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday. I hope the weather there in North Carolina is a bit warmer than it is here in my home state of Kansas. We're still digging out from that polar vortex and trying to stay warm, to be real candid. My pleasure to be here with you today. We are excited to share this information and help you all understand a little bit about this. Give me just a moment. Let me share my screen. There we go. Now I'm sharing my screen, I believe. We're excited to share this information with you because we know that the power and value of Lexile and Quantile measures is in the fact that you all can leverage these measures to do the jobs you need to do in the classroom and in your schools and districts and make that work. My name is Matt Copeland. I'm the Director of Educator Engagement here at Metametrics. I'm also joined by my good colleague, Jane Scott. Jane is going to monitor the chat room. She'll be sharing links to all of the information that I share with you today, and also answering any of your questions that you may have. So we strongly encourage you begin that back channel discussion there in the chat room. If you have questions, if you have ideas, if you see applicability to what you do in your day-to-day role as an educator in North Carolina, share that in the chat room. Let's hope that this becomes more than just yet another Zoom meeting and is something very productive and a quality use of our time. A quick overview of our afternoon here today for the next hour or so. I'll begin with just a quick review of Lexile and Quantile measures. For many of you, I am sure this will be a review. For others of you, that may be new information. I'll keep this short. I'll keep it sweet. That 30,000-foot view. If you're an NFL fan, I'll keep it to my 2-minute drill as best I can. I'll give you everything you need to know in 2 minutes, because we really want to move on to that next bullet, the star of our show, and that's the Lexile and Quantile Hub. We'll show you all how to access the hub and get you started registering your account and get you into the hub live while we're in this session today. Once we're there, I'll share with you all of the support resources that are available, particularly the quick start guides, which are text-based step-by-step instructions for each of our Lexile and Quantile tools. And then also, we also offer video tutorials for those of you that would rather watch the information and see it demonstrated for you. We have those same video tutorials that can provide that information as well. So I'll share with you where you can find those quick start guides and video tutorials. And then really what we'd like to do is offer you all a quick tour of a couple of different tools within the hub and share with you some information about how we think these are really relevant and useful to educators such as yourselves at the middle school level. And then we'll give you a little bit of time to what we metaphorically describe as playing in the sandbox. A little bit of time for you to explore those tools, explore the other tools that are available, and have us here with our ability to help you with any problems that you encounter or to answer any questions that you may see. So with that, let me get started here with my quick review. If you sports fans want to start your time watch, 2 minutes, give me 2 minutes here, and let me run through this here very, very quickly. We'll begin with the Lexile framework for reading. Again, as many of you know, the real value of the Lexile framework is that we can place both student reading ability and the difficulty of text on the very same scale. So in other words, we're able to make some comparisons about the text that our students read. And are they too hard? Are they too easy? Are they just right? Going back to that old Goldilocks metaphor. The value and the benefit of that is really, really important, because if the texts are too hard for our students, we can begin to think about our instructional scaffolding. And of course, if the texts are too easy for our students, we can think about enriching that child's experience with some additional texts that may help to raise their abilities. So in a nutshell, that's our goal. So in this example you see here on this slide, you see this 770L student, which that 770L describes her reading ability, sitting down to read a 770L text, in this case, Sharon Creech's Walk Two Moons. What we know is that this student is going to encounter a text that is comfortable in terms of its vocabulary and sentence complexity, but also one that's just complex enough that it's going to continue her growth as an independent reader. Similarly, the quantile framework for mathematics is very much parallel to the Lexile framework for reading. Again, we're placing a student's mathematical knowledge and understanding on the same scale as the difficulty of a mathematics lesson or a worksheet or a video or an online game, whatever that may be. Again, trying to get that Goldilocks sweet spot established where the mathematics is not too hard, not too easy, but just right for that child's growth. So here in this example, you see this child that has an 840Q quantile student measure sitting down to work a problem that also has an 840Q quantile material measure. And again, This suggests this ideal relationship. This is that sweet spot, going back to Vygotsky and that zone of proximal development, where exactly where this child should be to continue her growth at that optimal level. There is one distinction between the Lexile framework and the Quantile framework that's worth pointing out. As I said before, the Lexile framework, when you see that idealized match, that 770L student and that 770L text, what that suggests is independent reading. Reading that's done without much involvement from a teacher or a parent or a family member or another adult. Whereas on the quantile side, when we're talking about mathematics, the relationship is just a little bit different. It's not about independence, but it's about readiness for instruction. In other words, when you see an 840Q student sitting down with an 840Q problem, what that suggests is that we are assuming that a highly effective mathematics teacher is sitting down to help introduce that problem, help provide some of that basic reminders of the skills and the conceptual understandings that are at play to help that child learn how to solve that problem. So on the Lexile side, we talk about independent student reading. On the mathematics side, the quantile side, we talk about having the highly effective mathematics teacher because the child is ready for instruction. Now you may be asking yourself, well, where can I find these Lexile and quantile measures? And there are actually two different answers that we have for you. Of course, your statewide end of course, end of grade assessments in North Carolina have been linked with the Lexile and quantile frameworks. So in addition to the scale scores from those assessments, you're also receiving Lexile and quantile measures that describe that child's performance on those assessments. So every year, grades 3 through 8 in high school, you have Lexile and quantile measures from your state summative assessments. Then also, a second way you may be receiving these measures is at the local level. Your school or your district may be using an interim benchmark assessment or an instructional program that also has been linked with the Lexile and quantile frameworks. So in other words, even from those locally chosen assessments, you may be able to leverage these measures so that you're actually receiving multiple Lexile or multiple quantile measures on a student, even within a single school year. And in that way, they can be incredibly helpful in terms of monitoring progress. And that leads me right to this next slide, where we can describe, well, what are the value and what is the utility of these Lexile and quantile measures? Well, first and foremost, as educators, what they really provide us is a way to target our instruction to the unique abilities of our students. On the Lexile side, when we know our students' Lexile reader measure and we know the Lexile text measure of the book, we can actually forecast a comprehension rate for that child. And likewise, on the quantile side, when we know the student's quantile mathematics measure and we know the quantile measure of the materials, we can actually calculate a student success rate with that material. But perhaps more importantly, in terms of our instruction and our day-to-day planning that we all have to do in the classroom, these measures allow us to differentiate our instruction. And most importantly, provide scaffolding at those times when we know the student's ability level is not quite yet at that level of the material. It allows us, it prompts us to think about, how am I going to mitigate that gap? How am I going to help this child be successful with that material? A second way that these measures are value and utility is they really do promote growth, and they help us to monitor progress of students toward our goals of college and career readiness. Of course, that phrase, college and career readiness, has been a huge buzz phrase for the last decade. We are one of the unique systems in that we can actually quantify what does being college and career ready in the area of reading actually amount to? What number do I need to hit? And similarly, on the quantile side, when we think about what mathematical level of achievement do I need to accomplish as a K-12 student, we can actually quantify that with a quantile measure so that a child knows exactly where they ideally would be, whether they're planning to go to college, whether they're planning to go to a community college, whether they're planning to go directly into a career. And then finally, the last item on this list, these measures allow us to communicate student achievement more effectively. As I suggested before, there are a whole host of assessments and instructional programs that are linked to the Lexile and Quantile framework. I know Jane has shared the links to those complete lists. But understand the advantage here, because typically when we talk with our parents, when we talk with our families, when we talk with our communities at large, every time we discuss assessment results, we have to stop and explain that assessment's scale. The advantage here is there's one scale. So regardless of which of those assessments you're using that has been linked with our two frameworks, there's only one scale to communicate. So from those earliest levels in the pre-K world, all the way up through high school and even into the post-secondary realm, there's only one scale that families need to learn to understand how their students are performing against the expectations of their grade level, against our national norms for where students may be. So with that quick background on the two frameworks, let's get straight to, again, the star of our day, the Lexile and Quantile Hub. At this point, for those of you that are with us live, if you feel comfortable with this, feel free, launch an internet browser and go to hub.lexile.com. And in fact, if you're viewing this recording, you may want to hit pause and go ahead and launch that browser and do that on your own as well. And then feel free to come back and hit play when you're ready to move on. But in short, a short nutshell here, all of the various tools for both the Lexile framework for reading and the Quantile framework for mathematics are contained in the Lexile Quantile Hub. This is our one-stop shop for all of the instructional planning tools, all of the progress monitoring tools that help us do our jobs more effectively using this data, the Lexile and Quantile measure. So when you visit hub.lexile.com, the very first thing that the system is going to ask you to do is register an account. And of course, folks always ask, why do I need to register an account? And there are two very simple answers for that. Number one, by registering an account, you are able to mark resources as favorites. You can save them to your account so that the next time you come back to the Lexile and Quantile Hub, you can find them quickly and easily without having to repeat your search. They will be right there at your fingertips. But maybe more importantly is a second reason for registering your account, and that is because the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction has provided every educator in the state of North Carolina with free premium access to our Hub tools, meaning that for no cost out of your pocket, you get all the full functionality, all of the bells and whistles for our tools at completely no cost to you. That's saving you $17.99 per year. So be sure to thank the Department of Public Instruction for this access, because it's because of them that you are being granted access to these tools and these utilities. So you'll see again, the first thing you'll want to do is register your account. You'll see that purple button up near the upper right-hand corner of the main page of the Lexile and Quantile Hub. When you click on that purple button, you'll see that to create your account, we ask for just a couple of pieces of critical information. The first is your email address. And let me be abundantly clear at this moment. Please hear this next statement. When you register your account in the hub, please make sure to use your school email address, because that is how we validate that you are an educator in North Carolina. And that's how we save you that $17.99. If you try to register with a Gmail account or a Yahoo account or an AOL account, you'll get in just fine. But we can't validate you as a North Carolina educator. And so you won't have that full functionality, all the bells and whistles that you need to create your account. So please be sure when you register your account, use your school email address. You'll notice the rest of the information is very, very simple. We ask you to create a password to identify your country and your state, and then very simply identify your role. And while I know it's tempting, you see that first option, I'm a parent, and many of us think, yeah, I'm a parent. Keep reading down. What you want to click on is I'm an educator. Make sure you click on that third radio button down here on the right-hand side that says I'm an educator. That's important for getting that free access as well. When you do that, and you'll notice there is a purple button down here in the bottom left corner that says create account. Once you've filled out that information, click on that purple button and then check your email inbox, because you should have received an email from Metametrics that contains a link to confirm your account. So you'll want to open that account, you'll want to click on that link and confirm that you have created an account here in the Lexile and Quantile Hub. And when you do that, it should take you back to this screen. And you'll know that you've registered correctly, because up in the left-hand corner, it should show, not in my case, because my home state of Kansas is shown, but when you do this correctly, it'll show a silhouette of the state of North Carolina and North Carolina's postal abbreviation. Here in just a moment, we're going to go live to the hub, and I will show you exactly what that looks like. Here in this screenshot, you see the state of Kansas, my home state, for this purpose. But again, you'll know you're fully logged in, that you have full access to all the full functionality of the hub when you see that North Carolina icon up here in the top left-hand corner. So very quickly, let me describe some of the various support resources that are available for you as well, so that when you first are visiting the hub, you have the help and the assistance that you need. If you'll notice on the hub's main screen, over here in the left-hand navigation bar, all the way down near the bottom, there is a link that reads support. If you click on that link to support, you are taken directly to our support community. And here within the support community, you can find a wealth of information. This is the place where you can find information about your account. So if you ever need to change your password or change your residence, whatever that may be, you can certainly do so. You'll find information about each of the Lexile and Quantile tools that are present here in the hub. Additionally, you'll also find resources to describe those two kinds of Lexile measures and two kinds of quantile measures that are involved in our frameworks. And maybe most importantly for us is there is a comprehensive list of frequently asked questions and of course answers to go with those questions that are right there. So as you explore these tools, as you continue to think about how Lexile and Quantile measures can be leveraged in your classroom, as questions rise in your mind, check that list of frequently asked questions, because I'm willing to bet that 90% of the questions that you're asking have already been answered. And there's a ready response right there within our support community to help you make sense of the information that you're seeing. But as I said, also included within that support community are two resources that are incredibly important as you get started utilizing the Lexile and Quantile Hub. The first are our quick start tutorial videos. These are short videos, typically 2 to 3 minutes in length. They just give you that very quick 30,000-foot view of how do you get started with the tool, what are the basic functionalities of this tool, and how do I utilize it as well. Again, some of you may lean toward preferring video tutorials. Others of you prefer text-based tutorials. We have those quick start guides as well. So again, if you prefer the written out step-by-step instructions, if that's something you'd like to print off and have at your side when you visit the tools, those are certainly available as well. Again, very basic information, just a way to help you get started, not only with the hub itself, but with each of the individual tools within the Lexile and Quantile hub. And with that, that leads us to the portion of our webinar this afternoon where we share a couple of individual tools with all of you. And again, I realize many of you have now been granted access to the hub. You're probably poking around, kicking the tires. By all means, continue to do that. Jane is available in the chat room to answer any questions that you may have. But for those of you that prefer just to kind of sit back and watch for a little while, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag over a live shot of the Lexile and Quantile hub. And Jane or Beth or Dan, if one of you could confirm quickly that you're seeing the hub live with the North Carolina silhouette and postal abbreviation up in the left-hand corner, I'll know to move on. Could one of you verify that for me?
You look good, Matt.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, guys. I always sometimes struggle dragging that extra window over into the share. So what you guys are seeing is that live view of the Lexile and Quantile Hub's main page. Again, as you see here in the upper left-hand corner, that silhouette and North Carolina postal abbreviation tell me I'm logged in as an educator, meaning I have the full functionality. I have all the bells and whistles for each of the various Lexile and Quantile tools. So let me start by sharing what you're seeing on this main page are what we call our tool cards. Each Lexile and Quantile tool has its own tool card. It gives you the name of the tool, it tells you the intended audience, and a very brief description of what the tool helps you to accomplish. Now you'll notice here at the top of the page, you'll see the tool cards are headed in green, which represents our Lexile tools to help with reading. And then as I scroll down, you'll see that other tools are headed with a very thin blue banner, which designates our quantile tools for help with mathematics. And I will point out here very quickly, you'll notice that some tools appear in both categories. So for example, you will see a Lexile growth planner headed in green. But if I scroll down, you will also see that there is a Quantile growth planner headed in blue. The tools are completely parallel. They function in exactly the same manner. Obviously, the Quantile tool deals with mathematics measures and quantile measures, whereas the Lexile tool deals with Lexile measures and a student's reading ability. But I want to take a look first for our very first Lexile tool. And just so you all know, I know many of you are reading or ELA teachers. Others of you are mathematics teachers. I'm going to bounce back and forth. So I'll do one Lexile tool and then one quantile tool, then one Lexile tool, one quantile tool, just to give you a sense of what's here. But I want to start with our most popular tool on the Lexile side, and that is our Find a Book tool. And what Find a Book is designed to do is to help students identify books that meet two criteria. Number one, it's a book that has a Lexile text measure that is comparable to their Lexile reading measure. Going back to that Goldilocks metaphor, this is a way you know the book is not too hard, not too easy, but just right in terms of their reading ability. But secondly, what the Find a Book tool allows students to do is identify books that are written about topics they are interested in reading about. We know that student engagement is incredibly important to keep our students reading. We not only want to find books that are at their ability level, we want to find books that they're actually excited to sit down and read. So you'll notice here, a student, if he or she knows their Lexile level, they can enter that number right here in the search by measure box. Now, if they don't know their Lexile measure, they can identify their grade, and then they can answer that Goldilocks question. Are the books they read at school easy, just right, or difficult? And by clicking on those selections, the system will identify an approximate range for that child. But it gets a little bit more tailored when you can enter your exact Lexile measure. So for example, here this afternoon, I have a son whose Lexile measure is 650L right now at the moment. And I'm just going to use him as my example. And so my son, Kian, not only does he have a Lexile measure of 650L, he's really interested in reading books that are funny. He loves humorous books. So I can click on fiction, nonfiction, and poetry as his search by interest category. But you'll notice here in the subcategories, I can actually specify that he's most interested in reading about humor. And so when I've done that, I can click on the search button. And what the system is doing is it's scouring our database of about 250,000 titles. And it's identifying the books that, again, are about near my son's Lexile measure, but also identifying books that have been flagged or tagged as being humorous, as being funny books to read. And so what you'll see here is the system returns results of 1,307 books that meet those criteria. And over here on the right, I can actually adjust those criteria that I'm looking for if I want to specify and filter my results. But you see here, 1,300 books that my son might be interested in reading. Again, both that are near his Lexile reader measure and have been identified as being books that are humorous. So, for example, Inspector Flytrap, as you see here. Um, Typically, and this was a bad example, so let me go back and get you a better one. On the road again. If this were a particular title my son was interested in learning a little bit more about, you'll see here that typically we offer a short description of the content of that book so the child can read a little bit about it and say, yeah, is this a book I want to read or not? But in addition to that, we also report some vocabulary that's present in the book as a way to front load some of the troubling words or challenging words that a student might encounter. And notice that we not only provide the word, but we provide definitions for the word as well. And what's really great about the Find a Book tool is you notice up here at the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a heart that's shaded gray. But if I click on that heart, the heart turns red. And this is how I mark this book as a favorite. And once I've marked a book as a favorite, it appears in the My Bookshelf link. Just above that heart, if I click on My Bookshelf, I get a quick list of all of the various books that I've marked as favorites. This is a great way for students to identify books that they want to read, whether they're just books they want to read on their own time outside of the school day, or whether this is maybe a summer reading list where students are looking for books that they can read over the summer, again, that are at about their ability level, but also written about subjects they're interested in reading. So that's a quick overview of our Find a Book tool. Again, designed for students, but certainly something that educators and parents and families can use as well to identify books that students want to read and are in their wheelhouse in terms of their reading ability. So I'm going to go back to the main screen here for just a second, the Lexile and Quantile hub. And as promised, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to take a look at one of our Quantile tools. And just as I did on the Lexile side, I want to share with you all our most frequently visited Quantile tool, and that is our Math Skills Database. And this is a critical tool for mathematics teachers, because it is within here in our Math Skills Database that you can see the crosswalk between your North Carolina Learning Standards for Mathematics and what we call our Quantile Skills and Concepts, or QSCs. And what our QSCs are basically like our set of mathematics standards. It teases out all of the pieces of conceptual understanding, all of the various mathematical skills that a child needs to learn from that pre-kindergarten phase all the way up through high school. And in fact, you can actually view the crosswalk between those two sets of standards using the Math Skills Database. So you'll notice first, it asked me to identify my state, North Carolina, and it asked me to identify a grade level. And I'm just going to stick with my example of my son in 6th grade at this moment. And you'll notice that I can actually identify a particular North Carolina learning standard if I so choose, or I can simply select all goals selected. And when I click on search, I see that full crosswalk between your North Carolina learning standard and our QSCs. So you can see the alignment between your North Carolina standards and the Quantile framework for mathematics. So for example, if I know that tomorrow I'm teaching a lesson on NC.6.EE.1, I can come to the Math Skills Database and I can explore the QSCs that are aligned with that standard. So when I click on the QSC, I'm taken to our QSC details page. which shows me a little bit about the skills that should have come before that lesson I'm going to teach tomorrow, the skills that accompany that lesson, and those impending skills or those future skills that those students are going to learn at a future date based upon my lesson. Probably most importantly for our instructional planning is the list of free resources that we provide as well. So if I know I'm teaching that particular standard in a lesson tomorrow, you'll see here that the Math Skills database identifies 9 distinct free resources that I might use to teach that concept in my classroom. You'll see that we have a variety of virtual nerd videos. We have some handouts. We have a math game, all that address that particular content that's explored in that North Carolina Learning Standard. So again, a great resource for identifying various websites, worksheets, online games, the kinds of things that you can use to help plan your instruction to address all of that information there for your students and really create the customized, personalized lessons that your students need. So there's a lot to do here in the Math Skills database, a lot to explore with the quantile skills and concepts, a lot that can be done with all of these tools as well. I'm going to stop and call an audible here. And I want to suggest that not only is the Lexile and Quantile Hub really applicable to educators, but it's also really applicable to parents and families as well. Another quantile tool, while we're right here, similar to the Math Skills database, although not so complex, is our Math at Home tool. For parents and families that are looking to find resources to use at home, not necessarily to teach mathematics, but to reinforce the mathematics that's already been taught at school, Math at Home is their tool. And parents can certainly create a free account on the Lexile and Quantile Hub as well. And so very quickly here, parents or families that may use the Math at Home tool, they can go in, they can identify their home state of North Carolina, they can select their student's grade level. If they know their student's quantile measure, they can certainly enter that or not. But they can also search by keyword because we know lots of parents kind of have that math phobia. They want to say, I don't know anything about math. I don't know how I can help. But even if they know a keyword, so for example, I know the font there is very small to read, but if they know that their student is learning about fractions in math class at the 6th grade level in North Carolina at about a quantile measure of 800Q, they can actually find those resources quickly and easily. As you see here, here are 53 various resources that match those criteria, aligned to your North Carolina standards for mathematics learning, in this case for grade 6, at about roughly that 800Q level. So if parents are looking for, well, what are some resources I can use to help reinforce my child's learning at home about fractions, here are 53 resources freely available that they can find and utilize. So one of the takeaways from this is that the Lexile and Quantile Hub is not just advantageous for educators, it's also advantageous for our parents and families as well. So let me jump back. Let's go to a Lexile tool here for just a moment. And then I want to make sure we give you all a little bit of that sandbox time to play with this as well. But one of the other issues that I know is frequently addressed at the middle school level is that of career exploration. And educators have at their fingertips not only the Lexile career database, but this is an example of a tool that also has a parallel on the Quantile side, the Quantile career database. I'm just going to jump in here to the Lexile career database for just a moment. And what the career database allows you to do is to have some concrete data to describe for students what the reading or the mathematics demand, if I were in the Quantile career database, but what the reading demands are of individual occupations. So when our middle school students are in those career exploration units and they're thinking about that age-old question, what do I want to be when I grow up? Well, let's imagine for a moment that our student comes back and says, you know what? I want to be just like my dad. I want to be a mechanic. We can actually go in to the Lexile career database, and we can see the career demands that are expected of an entry-level career or automobile mechanic position. And I'm trying to remember which at this moment, which of the career clusters that appears in. I should have thought through my example here just a little bit better. I believe it's in the transportation field. Ah, here it is. Yes, indeed. So if a child wants to be an automotive service technician and mechanic, you can actually go in and you can see here that those employees, I'm sorry, in their first year of employment as an auto mechanic, they're going to be asked to read texts from about 1,405 lexiles up to about 1,560 lexiles, which actually, and this is a surprise for a lot of folks, are even higher than the expectations for college. Here at Metametrics, we describe as being college ready if a high school graduate has a Lexile measure of about 1,300 L. Well, notice here to become a mechanic, you have to be reading from about 1,405 lexiles up to 1,560 lexiles. So even a higher standard from an auto mechanic than for just going to college. But what's really neat about the career databases, both on the Lexile side and the Quantile side, is that we also include some career information so that students can see average salary and they can see the number of projected job openings for that particular occupation. And what you're looking at here, a little over $42,000 a year and about almost 800,000 jobs being projected as available, is national data. But what's really neat about the career database tool is that you can actually drill down into your state and actually your metropolitan area to explore what auto mechanics might make in different areas of your state. So for example, let's look at the metropolitan area of Jacksonville. You see that in Jacksonville, the average salary is slightly higher, 43,600 and change, than the national average, and that there are projected to be about 400 jobs available based on that statistical area. We can compare that. Let's go up here to Durham and Chapel Hill for a moment. And we can see that the average pay is a little bit higher yet, $44,000 and change. But more importantly, there are projected to be about 1,370 jobs available. So if I'm interested in becoming an auto mechanic, it at least appears on the surface that my options, my opportunities are better in the Durham Chapel Hill area than they are in the Jacksonville area. So again, as students are considering their career explorations and they're considering what they want to be, when they grow up. This career database is a great way to connect what is their current Lexile or Quantile measure compared to what are the Lexile and Quantile reading and mathematical demands of actually being in that occupation. So not only are students thinking about what courses do they need to take to be prepared for those occupations, they can also begin to think at what level do my skills need to be so that when I enter that occupation, I'm able to do that work and be successful in that occupation. So again, that's just a quick overview of our Lexile and Quantile career databases, and you can certainly explore those in a little bit more time here in just a second on your own. Very quickly, one last tool that I want to share with you all, again, back on the mathematics side, is I will share the Find Your Lesson tool. So if you are using a mathematics textbook or you're using a mathematics program that includes lessons for you to teach, in many instances, you can find those textbooks and those math programs right here in the Find Your Lesson tool. So again, I'm using my son as an example, and they use the Go Math Common Core edition here in my home state of Kansas. And so if I type in Go Math and I find that edition of the textbook, what you see here is the table of contents for that entire textbook. Chapter by chapter, lesson by lesson. I see what the topic of that lesson is, and I also see the difficulty of that lesson expressed on that quantile scale. So you'll see here, I know the font is small, lesson 1 of chapter 1, divide multi-digit numbers, has a quantile measure of 690Q. And if I know my students' quantile student measures, I can compare their mathematical readiness for that lesson. And if I see that they aren't quite up to snuff, I can click on where it says show QSCs, and I can actually go back to those detail pages where I can see the prerequisite skills that lead up to that. I can see the impending skills that will be built upon in future lessons, but I can actually see those resources that might help me teach lesson 1 in chapter 1 of the Go Math textbook. So again, coming back to this idea of planning our instruction using these tools that allow us to compare not only the student's ability level, but the actual difficulty level of materials. So I see by looking at the clock, we have about 5 minutes left here in our webinar. And my understanding from Jane is that the chat room has been quite busy with lots of questions and responses and discussion of this. That's fantastic. Thank you all. But what I want to do is give you all just a couple of minutes, poke around and see what all you have at your fingertips within the Lexile and Quantile Hub. And certainly if you have questions, you have Jane, you have myself here right now to be able to answer those questions, but we want to give you guys a chance. Take a moment, think about the applicability of these various tools to your role, to your position within your school or your district, and think about how you might leverage these tools in your own professional use. So let me be quiet for a minute or two. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint while I do that. And give you all a chance to kick those tires, play in the sandbox, and generate any questions or comments that you may have. And please feel free to share those in the chat room. Well, everyone, I know it's been an extremely busy day and the afternoon is waning on us, and you all are excited to get on with your evenings and all the other important things that you want to do. Jane and I realize that we have not given you guys nearly enough time to poke around and explore all of these various tools. And for that reason, Jane and I offer our office hours. So every Monday afternoon from 3 to 5, and again every Friday morning and afternoon from 11 to 1. Jane and I are available on a Zoom call just like this. It's not that you need to come and spend 2 hours with us, but we're available, ready and willing to hear your questions, your comments, your suggestions. Come and go as you please. Pop in, get the information that you need, pop right back out and get on with your day. So as you do have time to explore these various tools and think about how Lexile and Quantile measures can be utilized in your work, if you encounter those questions, if you encounter any obstacles at all, please do visit us during our office hours, or if those times don't work for you, just shoot us an email. We'll be happy to create a personalized Zoom session during a planned period or a lunch hour or whatever works for you, and we'll get you the information that you need. So on behalf of everyone at Metametrics and also everyone at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, thank you so much for joining us today and getting this quick introductory tour for the Lexile and Quantile Hub. We hope that you find it as valuable and useful as we hope it is for all of you. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. Have a wonderful evening and a great Friday and a wonderful weekend. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk with you soon.